executes all of the decoded CPU instructions, stores the result in memory, and prepares the CPU for the next CPU cycle. Okay, here's the nuanced part. The number of instructions executed in a cycle are variable, but the number of cycles that it takes to execute an instruction is fixed. Okay, so hang on, brace yourself. We don't measure the speed of a CPU in CPU cycles. We measure the speed of a CPU in clock cycles. Each processor has a different speed, measured in clock cycles per second. Each clock cycle triggers one or more CPU cycles. A 3 GHz CPU has 3 billion clock cycles per second, but we can't say for sure that it has 3 billion CPU cycles per second. This makes it hard to measure real performance of a CPU based only on clock speed. We really care about CPU cycles, not clock cycles, so it's important to understand the difference between the two. Now we've actually got to schedule all those instructions. A computer has so many responsibilities, from turning
4-pin. Find it and then just find this little thing which is called eATX 12 volts, so it's extra ATX power. And just again, same thing, just plug it in. This time this one did click. So now we're ready to do our test bench. And what we need to do is we need to take the power supply, we need to plug it in, make sure it's off first of all. Okay, so now that we've plugged everything in, we've got everything set up, we've got the 24-pin power supply in and the 4-pin eATX 12 volt in. And we've plugged the CPU fan in, and we've got the graphics card in and the RAM in. We can now do a test boot. So what we have to do is we have to turn on our power supply, and then next is...
Okay, so this is directly Java code. Now, how is this array stored in memory? Well, it just turns out that Java, or the implementers of Java, realized that you needed these 3 parameters, but one of them is very important, which is the number of elements you have in the array. And that is something that you need to check continuously, because in Java, if you do something like t of 3, obviously is a correct access to this array. However, if you do t of 23, then you get an exception, which I'm sure you're familiar with it, because it's the array index out of bounds, which occurs fairly often. So how does Java know that 23 is an illegal index for this array? Well, very simple, it compares 23.